Hey everyone, how you going? It's Carlo here. I'll be a lecturer for design and drawing. It's a pleasure to have you all join us today in our collaborate session. Having join us today is Kirby. So if Kirby wants to say hi.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'll just quickly show you my face so you can put a face to a name and pass it back over to Carlo.
Now, you can see that Rosie's been experiencing some difficulties in hearing us. Is everything fine now, Rosie? Okay. Yes. All right, cool. All right, so basically in today's collaborative session, both me and Kobe will be running through the assessments, so assessments one and two of the design drawing subject. Now, at the end of the actual session, there's going to be some time for you guys to partake in the collaborative session to ask any questions or discuss any issues whatsoever about the assessments or about the unit itself. So that'll be at the end of the session. So, welcome to the third subject, design drawing. Now, you may already be thinking to yourself, how do I present my proposed design ideas to my client? Well, there are different types of drawings that need to be completed. Throughout the design stage, you'll be completing conceptual design ideas where they can either be drawn manually or even generated in a computer program. In addition, you'll also be producing drawing packages containing detailed floor plans, elevations, sections, and details, which can also be manually drawn or computer generated. Now, in this subject of design drawing, you will learn how to develop and refine a range of techniques to produce technical and concept drawings. Basically, learning the standards and conventions of design drawing is similar to learning a foreign language. This foreign language is spoken by contractors, suppliers, consultants, and other approval authorities. Therefore, it's very important for you guys to learn how to communicate your design ideas clearly to all stakeholders. Now, just before I move on in today's session, I just want to ask you guys where you're up to with design drawing. If you guys want to use the chat box to just tell us whether you've started assessment one or whether you've started looking at the learning tasks or assessment two. So let's give you guys a moment to type in the chat box.
It's not a Facebook chat.
Okay.
But it's not a Facebook
Later.
chat.
Stage.
Oh, just keep going.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So since the Eliza's still up to DP1, well, basically in today's session, we'll be running through the assessments and on how and what you guys need to produce for submission. So today's session will be very beneficial for everyone. Okay, so before we move on, what we're going to do is going to do a quick activity. So looking at the slideshow above, what we're going to do is a quick drafting equipment activity. Basically, what we require you to do is to match each of the um, drafting name to the correct drafting tool. So I just want to give you guys a quick test to see what your base knowledge is on the drafting tools that you are being given. So basically what we've done now is we've enabled the whiteboard function. So all you need to do is select the line tool, which is located on the left hand side, third icon from the bottom, and all you need to do is draw a line to match up the drafting tool to the drafting name. Cool. Seems that most of you got the correct answer. So basically in design drawing, just like a builder, us designers also have our own set of tools to execute our projects in both doing manual and digital drawings. So in your art kit, you should have received a scale ruler, adjustable set square, a furniture template, a T-square, a circle template, and also a flexible curve. So starting off with the first tool located on the left-hand side of the screen, which is the scale ruler. This is basically a specialized ruler that allows you to draft and measure architectural and interior drawings such as floor plans, orthographic projections, isometric, and perspective views. Later on, you'll notice that there are different scales that's being indicated on the ruler. There's 1 to 1, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 1 to 50, and 1 to 100. Throughout the course, you'll be using different scales to produce various types of drawings, which we'll elaborate more later down the track. The second tool, which is the T-square, basically this tool allows you to draft lines horizontally and vertically, neatly and accurately. Basically, this T-square is used alongside with the adjustable set square to draw angled lines as well. So with this adjustable set square, which is the third equipment from the left, this tool allows you to adjust that ruler to draw angled lines on your drawing page. The fourth tool being the furniture template. Basically, it's a template that allows us to draw certain symbols accurately and neatly. Fifth is the flexible curve. This allows us to draw more complex and curved line forms. And lastly, it's the circle template, which pretty much has various circle form templates in order to allow interior designers to use or to draw circles accurately. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go through now the assessment and learn task mapping. So looking at the diagram above, basically there's 12 sessions all up in design drawing, each session containing different learning tasks. For the first half, there's 6 learning tasks. And basically, all you need to do is submit assessment 1 after completing learning task 6. Now, there is a checkpoint that's going to be set later on, which I'll elaborate more in the next couple of slides. And same thing goes for assessment 2. So straight after session 7, you're going to be commencing on assessment 2, and you'll be submitting assessment 2 after session 12. Just take note that it's highly recommended that you complete the learning and assessment tasks in the suggested order. Otherwise, you may find it difficult attempting the task out of order, as it'll be a bit overwhelming, since the acquired skills and knowledge you would have gained will be applicable as per task or as per assessment. Okay, starting with assessment 1. In this assessment, you'll be producing ideation drawings from a given design brief to capture your conceptual thoughts. In addition, you'll also be developing and refining a set of basic technical drawings on the design project. Basically, throughout the sessions and learn tasks, you'll learn how to produce floor plans, elevations, sections, isometric and axonometric views relevant to the interior spaces and furniture. The great thing with this subject is that you guys will be exploring different methods and techniques, such as in manual and digital formats. For this assessment, there are steps to take throughout the assessment. With the provided brief, you'll be analyzing all key information and parameters of the design project. You'll be transmitting all your thoughts and processes into a visual diary. In addition, you'll be finalizing your technical drawings in the correct required format. Now, as much as I'll be criticizing your work, you as well will be challenging your thoughts and justifications as well. Okay, so let's take a quick look now at Ashley Morgan's home office. So basically, this is a space that you've been given to work on. You'll be developing a home office for Ashley Morgan. And I'm just going to take a quick look at the parameters that's been set for you. So for this design project, there's a budget of $4,500. Ashley Morgan's actually required a computer desk area, which can also work as a bench area for layout work. For the space, you're also required to include seating area and table for up to 2 clients. Lastly, you need to also take into consideration the shelving storage space that is to be implemented in the space. Now, in the assessment sheet, there's been given, you guys have been given some sketches that's already been made from the initial interior designer. It is your duty now to continue on with the design project and to execute your own design development and ideas for the project. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, for the first half of the project, you are to develop 3 concepts for the home office. You'll be executing these concepts by producing ideation drawings and conceptual sketches. Now, looking at the page in front of you, I'll provide a student example work. Basically, what you can do is provide a sketch floor plan and elevations, adding in notations, just justifying and describing your design intent for the plan. In addition to your ideation drawings, it would be awesome to also see sketch perspectives as well. You can either take in format of basic line drawing, or if you want, you can also implement the skills that you should have learned in graphic comms to also apply depth, dimension, color, and line. Here's another great example as well. So with this student, she's also sketched out the furniture items that she's wanted to include. In addition to your ideation drawings, you're also required to provide a rationale. Now this rationale is just a description of your design intent for each of the 3 concepts that you are to provide. Now, I just wanted to show you this example from a student. What she's done, she's also included a human figure. Now, in the design brief, you are required to indicate a human figure. Now, can someone tell me why you have to include a human figure to a perspective? So she just want to write in a little chat box why interior designers need to include a human figure to a perspective image. So I'll give you guys 2 minutes. Cool. Great work, Leah and Liza. So basically, the reason as to why we need to include a human figure to our perspectives is to inform the scale and proportion of that space. So exactly spot on. So what we would like to see in your design development is a whole range of sketches, floor plan sketches, elevation sketches, and also general notes, or also just even descriptions of what your design idea is. These ideation drawings can also take form of an isometric drawing, which you guys will be covering in session 5, learning task 5. This is Leia Heaven's work, so sorry about that, I completely forgot. So great work, Leia. Now, just before we move on, I just wanted to inform you that for your ideation drawings, we set up a checkpoint after learning task 4, session 4. So basically what you need to provide to us is 3 concepts of the home office. This can take form of all your ideation drawings and rationales, and a client information sheet. Now all these project work needs to be submitted on the Learn portal for us to review and analyze. And once we're giving you feedback, you'll be then required to execute your final technical drawings upon final submission. Okay, so just moving on now. In the portal, we've added in some additional resources for everyone to access. I'm just going to take a quick look now at the title block template. So this can be found in the learning portal underneath design drawing, additional resources. So basically, when executing your technical drawings, you need to provide a title block to inform us all the relevant information of that drawing. So taking a quick look at the example shown, what you need to provide is all your contact details, designer name, contact phone or email. What you also need to provide in your title block is also the client details, project name, project number, and also the scale of the drawing. So this can be found inside the learning portal underneath additional resources. Now you can either use this exact same template, or you can also amend it to your own layout as well. Okay, so this is an example work of Jade Pinnell, who's just currently finished assessment 1 of design drawing. So this is her final technical drawing of the home office. So you can see that she's done a really great job of indicating a huge amount of detail and dimensioning, and also 2D symbols as well. Take note of her precision of her line work, and also her lettering as well. Now, if you look closely to her title block, you can see that she's also added in her own company logo. We're not expecting you guys to provide your own company logo, but it would be also great to see that, to show a bit more of your professionalism. Don't worry too much if you haven't got anything prepared yet. It was just a great addition from Jade. So well done on Jade. So you can also see her here is her elevation drawings. Once again, I commend her on her consistency of her line work and the neatness and her overall presentation. So this might look familiar again, Leia. So thanks again. This is a great example work from Leia. What she's provided for her conceptual drawing is a rendered isometric She's really, really good. So well done on her. And she's also added in her rationale as part of her conceptual drawing. Your final conceptual drawing can also take form of a one-point perspective as well, just like the example shown above. And that's basically it for assessment 1. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them at the end of the session, and we're more than happy to clarify anything for you. So I'm just going to pass now on to my partner Kirby to talk through assessment 2. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlo. Now that was assessment 1. What I want to do is moving forward, go through assessment 2 with you, and we've also got a little activity at the end as well. Okay, so for assessment 2, what you're doing is moving on with your design. You've already received some feedback from the client, being your lecturer, on what you have presented for assessment 1. So what you need to do now is take this feedback into consideration, and you're going to produce a working set of drawings which further detail your proposed shelving design. So this working set of drawings will be sent to the joiner for manufacture of the shelving unit. So they will need to be very accurate, quite clear and quite informative as well. One thing that you also need to take note of is design development is very important here, as is research. So you're not only working on your design drawing and your drafting conventions, but make sure you have a little bit of fun with your shelving design as well. And make sure you come up with an idea and you figure out how this idea can be put together. So there's a fair bit of independent research required here as well. So you need to look into how things can be put together and what materials you can use. So it's a good idea to have a close look at your joinery at home. You know, have a little bit of a play with everything and have a really close look. Like, how do your drawers open? How do your doors open, and how are they attached to the main piece of joinery? How are your door handles attached? Try not to take your furniture apart and wreck the house, but definitely have a good look and see how things fit together. Another good idea is to simply go to Bunnings or your closest hardware store and familiarise yourself with what is called substrates. So substrates are materials that you actually build joinery with. So having a look at what particle board is, what plywood is, what MDF is, and what they look like and how thick they are. And would that be suitable for what you want to design and your proposed ideas? So to start off with this assessment, you'll need to collate the feedback from us, your teachers, and the information from previous drawings to plan your proposed final set of working drawings. This will be done in your visual diary as you sketch out each what each of your drawings you'll produce and what you include in each drawing. So you'll have a shelving plan view, you'll have shelving elevation, a section through the storage unit, and at least one detail of how the storage unit will be joined. So similar to what you've done in the previous assessment with ideation drawings, you're simply doing ideation drawings to plan out what you include for your set of working drawings. Now, does everyone know what is meant by the term detail in terms of drafting? If you could give me a yes or a no, it might not be something that you have come across just yet. So just a tick or a cross. No, sort of. Yep, there's lots of terms to remember, and there are a lot of things that you'll come across during this unit and future units as well. Okay, so no, sort of, and no. So a detail is a blown up view of one small part of your joinery. This is usually at a larger scale, so at a scale of 1 to 1, 1:2, or 1:5, depending on the size of the overall piece. For this assessment, you have been asked to do a detail at a scale of 1:1. So what you'll need to do at this stage with the ideation drawings is plan what you will show. So what do you want to zoom in on and create a detailed drawing of? Will you zoom in and show how your shelf is being held up? Will you zoom in and show a little cut through, maybe through a shelf, and show what the substrate is? and where the laminate is sitting and just showing dimensions and things like that. And I'll show you a few examples as we go on as well. Okay, so the next step after you have produced your ideation drawings and planned out what you want to include in your set of working drawings is to produce a 3D perspective of your storage unit. Okay, so what you can do is you can continue with this step while you're awaiting feedback from your lecturer on your ideation drawings, because you are required to submit them just for a little bit of feedback. With the 3D perspective, you will have to use SketchUp to create a 3D model of your storage design. You will save multiple views of your design and also add them to your visual diary before deciding on the best and final view, which you include in your final assessment submission. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with this SketchUp program, there are lynda.com playlists which are available to you in the resources, and we'll go through that later as to exactly where you can find them. But it's really great to start familiarising yourself with this program, as it is it's quite great, powerful and easy program to use. So the sooner you start having a play with it and experimenting with it, the better. Okay. So by now, you should have received feedback from your lecturer on your ideation drawings for your working drawings. So from here, you will produce a complete set of working drawings for submission. These will include a floor plan view of your shelving unit, a front elevation of your shelving unit, a section, so a cut through of your shelving unit, and a detail at a scale of 1:1. Now, the biggest thing to remember with this is that you do need to have construction notes and material notes and finishes on your set of drawings. What you need to keep in mind is that you will be in the real world submitting these drawings to the manufacturer. So the more information you have on these drawings, the better. Also, in terms of standard drafting conventions, there are other things that must be included in your working drawings. So what I'm going to do now is just do a quick question here and ask if anyone is familiar at the moment with standard drafting conventions, and if anyone can actually tell me or type in the chat box what standard drafting conventions you can see in this example. So to start you off, I can actually see that there are section markers. Is there anyone else that can actually have a look at the example in front of you and just type in the box, what can you see from standard drafting conventions that you will have to include in your working drawings? Scale, definitely. So what you can see here is that you've got the scale in the title block, and you've also got a scale in the drawing titles as well. Thanks, Leah. Anyone else? One thing that will actually tell you measurements, that's a pretty important thing to have. Can anyone tell me what they are? Yep. So we've got titles, definitely. Okay, dimensions was the word that I was looking for. Measurements means the same thing, but you've got dimensions and your dimension markers. Can anyone else? Oh, sorry, Rosie, that you can't see the image very well. Measurements equals dimensions, yes. Hopefully when you play back the recording, it's a little bit clearer for you. Great. Okay, and you've also got notations as well. So you can see that you've got a little arrow there, and it's actually pointing to something specifically in the drawing and further explaining it. So that's a very important thing to have. Also in your title block, as Carlo has already gone through, you are supposed to have things like your job number, job name, project name, scale, date. Another really important thing to make sure you include is the drawing number. So if you are sending in a set of 3 drawings, you need to make sure that you note that there is drawing number 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. So in case anything gets goes missing in transmittal there. Okay, thanks guys. Moving on to the next slide. So what I have here is an industry example of a technical drawing, of a detailed drawing of a piece of joinery. Now, this is a really good example for you to see some of the types of information that you will include in a working joinery drawing. I personally would like to see this laid out a little bit neater so it's easier to read, but it's a really good example for you to see. So you can see what you've got is a top view or a plan view of the piece of joinery. You've got a front elevation, a section, and there are also 3 details there. So you can see what I mean by details is it's a zoomed in section actually further explaining the construction of that piece. Now this is a great example, but there are a few things that are a little bit wrong with this example. Oh Leah, that's a good question. I would lay it out pretty much how you've got it now. So what you need to do is you need to have your plan view, your elevation underneath it, and your section to the side. But what I would like to see is just the details themselves lined up a little bit easier, just so that everything's in line and nice and consistent. Yeah, good comment, Alyssa. It is a little bit busy. So, I mean, the simpler the better and the more consistent the better as well. There are a couple of things that are missing from standard drafting conventions in this example. You may have to have a close look. Is there anyone that can tell me, are there any symbols missing or is there any information missing from this drawing? There seems to be some markers missing. Can anyone tell me what those markers might be? Yeah, there's a lot of information to scan, Leah. Have a look at the different types of views they've got. Are those views indicated anywhere at all by any markers? Okay, yep, so you can see that there aren't any markers indicating what views. So, yeah, great work, guys. So you can see that on the top view, on your floor plan view, there is no elevation marker. Okay, so it's not showing you where your elevation view is coming from. No reference points, that's right. Also in your elevation, there is no section marker. So although on first sight this might, yeah, exactly right. Thanks, guys. So although it looks like a very informative drawing, and it is a very informative drawing, there are just a few things missing. So it's really good to make sure that you check your resources and your standard drafting conventions and make sure that you've got everything in place. Because when you put everything together, it can be quite busy and you've got a lot of information. Just make sure you're double checking everything before you're sending it in. Thanks, guys. Okay, so now we're moving on to the digital 3D image that you will be submitting with this assessment. So for this, as Carlo has mentioned, you will need to include a human figure. So your human figure is going to give you a sense of scale and proportion. It's also going to add that little bit more of realistic feel to your piece as well. So it gives your client the idea or the feel that they're in there themselves. Makes it a little bit more realistic. For this, you will have to use SketchUp, so make sure you go onto the lynda.com tutorials and have a play with SketchUp as well. Maybe even look at something or a table or a piece of joinery in your home and try and build that yourself in SketchUp after taking some measurements. That's always a really good practice exercise. So what you can do with this submission is you can either include your shelving unit on its own with a person next to it to indicate scale, or you can actually draw up your whole office and include your shelving unit in that office. Now, it is encouraged that you show the shelving unit in situ, so in the office, because that gives your client a really good feel of how it fills the space and how it functions. So here is just another example of a really good SketchUp image. Of course, your human figures don't always have to look realistic. They just need to give a sense of proportion. So this is just another example showing you a different style. Okay, and lastly, I just wanted to share with you some images of inspiration. So as I said before, although this is a drafting exercise and a drafting assessment, it's also really good to bring in that creative spark as well. Of course, make sure you're enjoying yourself too, pushing your creative thoughts. So try to also focus on your design development, getting inspiration from different places, looking at what you've got in your home, how you might be able to improve your storage units, and making sure that you're developing those ideas. So feel free to create something a little bit crazy and a little bit out there as well. Do remember though that you do have to draw it at this stage. Okay, so Leah has just asked a question here. So the shelving system doesn't have to be the same as assessment 1. It does have to be the same as assessment 1 because your client has seen your proposal and they would be expecting that same shelving unit to be detailed unless your client has come back and asked you to make changes. But don't worry, Leah, you've done a great job as it is. I wouldn't worry too much. Okay, so what I wanted to do now, just to wrap up, is get you guys to use your pen tool in your little icons here. And what I want you to do is just have a quick play and a quick sketch of some ideas that you might have had with shelving or joinery units, or even draw up what you've got at home. So what I'm going to start off with is, I'll be in the pink pen, and I'm just going to draw a quick ideation sketch, quick drawing. It's very difficult to try and do anything neat with these pen tools, but that's okay. Of a shelving unit that I've drawn inspiration from just watching this session. So this was a shape that was actually shown in one of the drafting examples, and I think it could actually work as a really cool wall storage unit. So what I would like to have is one piece of bent ply intersecting with another piece of bent ply, and then that would make my shelving unit. Does anyone else have any other ideas? Leah, perhaps you can sketch up what you've already done. Maybe add some things to it if you like. How does mine work? Oh, how does this work? Oh, so I don't know how to use it. Okay.
Oh, wait, maybe.
Well, yeah, they drew a line.
Do something cool.
So they should be able to see this, right? They can see the same view as me.
Got it. All right.
Ah, great one, Leah. Yep, so you can see just to the right of your chat box, you do have a palette there which shows you've used the line tool before, so drawing a straight line on the page. You'll see that the third button down is a pen. If you click on that, you'll actually see that you can draw a pen stroke. Neither am I, Leah. Thanks, guys. Alisa and Rosie, are you able to grab the pen tool at all? Or the line tool? Bruno's doing a Lego inspired shelving unit there. That looks great.
How can you see? Oh.
Oh, I can see something honeycomb inspired. That's a great idea, because then it can actually be movable and interchangeable as well. Yes, he's showing off. Oh, great work, Alyssa. I love the honeycomb. Great idea. Fantastic. Okay, I think someone's still drawing there, but we're going to have to wrap this slide up. I just want to go on to the next one before we get into Q&A. Great work, guys. All right, so don't forget as well, you have a fantastic resource called lynda.com. So make sure you check that Lynda playlist out under your additional resources on your subject page, and have a look through there and see what extra skills you can learn. It's also going to be really valuable in terms of learning SketchUp as well. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you so much for Carlo for starting us off as well. What we're going to do now is just stick around for 5 or so minutes in the chat box. Any questions that you have at all, let us know. Let us know how you're going with this unit and in the course as well. So we'll stick around and have a little bit of a chat. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone.